in three,
Any
two, one.
seconds?
Any second now.
Go.
There we go. Fantastic. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all. Mostly just your names because you guys don't like to say hello to me, but I hope you guys have been well. Today, we are going to be covering the role of animation, animator in general. We have the lovely Anna here who will be sharing her experience. Both in the games industry and outside in the other industries that she's worked in, and how it pertains. And honestly, it's quite a key element to the whole game design process. I mean, the video game process as a whole, because there's so many things that are occurring throughout the visualization of a video game, and it can range from pixel all the way to whatever style you want. And it takes a lot of skill. And it is definitely something that I'm sure some of you guys have had some at least questions about. So I hope today you'll have a chance to ask those questions and to maybe get, I guess, a new perspective on some of the ways that you possibly could think about that career if it is something that's of interest to you. And so today I'm going to let Anna start it off with just a little bit about herself, a little bit of her story, tell us about some of the skills that you've worked on and maybe some of the roles that you worked in, and just we'll do a little background and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah, I think Andrew
Oh, I think
dropped
you
off for
froze.
a second.
My
Okay,
computer
yeah,
froze.
no worries. I can start. You're okay with it?
Yes, that's
Um,
perfect.
so hello everybody. I can see your initials, but I cannot see your faces. But my name is Anna, and I'm from Italy, and I'm working in London for the past 4 years and a half. So I've been working in the animation industry. Right now, working for more of a game animations, but I will start with a bit of background. So I studied in Italy, and I would like to start from high school because high school is really different in Italy from the UK, from what I understood. So basically, when you are middle school, I know you don't have like middle school, high school. You have different, but around this age range, you start choosing your path pretty specifically. So when you choose an high school, you choose the high school of scientific studies or musical studies, classical studies, and you can choose the art studies, which is basically what I've done. So I focused my high school years in drawings, paintings, and stuff like that. Really classical artistic study. Now is a bit different because the world is changing and they have like new media, backgrounds, set design, stuff like that. When I did it, it was classical artistic studies. So then I was pretty. I think I always knew that I wanted to do something with around drawings. That first was comics, and then I found out that I could do actually animation or cartoons. That I grew up watching cartoons, like I think everybody. So like Disney cartoons, Japanese cartoons. So all the like that word really fascinated. I was really fascinated by that, and I really wanted to become an animator. So it was pretty clear to me what I wanted to do. And in high school, I already knew that I wanted to do an animation school. So I actually prepared for 1 year to come in this to go in this it's like a university, but not really because it's a professional studies. It's 3 years university kind of. And I prepared for 1 year to get in because I didn't have any knowledge and I wasn't really ready to get in right after high school because they allow only 16 people in. So it's really a tough process to get in. And yeah, I studied animation for 3 years there, and it was pretty amazing. I mean, really a lot of practice and like staying up all night working and hard work, and it was really, really fun. And then I started working as a storyboard artist actually, because it was one of the internships that the school allowed you to go to do. And after my internship, I worked as a storyboard artist in Italy for I think 6 months. And then I got the opportunity to come to London and work for a Cartoon Network in the advertisement building. I worked for 2 years, and that was really like it was a completely different world. I think the UK from Italy, and then I moved to I stayed in Cartoon Network, but I moved to TV shows because I really wanted to do some animation for TV shows or feature films. And after that, I was back to advertisement. It's kind of connected, so you can move from one to the other pretty easily. I was back to advertisement because the TV show that I was working on, which is The Amazing World of Gumball, was the series was the last one, the 6th season, and it was ending, and they are not doing a new season. So I was back to advertisement. And then after a few months, I was kind of like, what do I want to do when I want to try something new? Advertisement was a bit boring for me, so I moved to. I was looking for a new opportunity to do something different, and it may be a smaller environment where I was maybe able to do different things. And I found this Mrs. Wordsmith place, which is a startup that focuses on helping kids learning language through books, illustrated books, and 2 mobile games now. So right now I'm still here, Mrs. Wordsmith, and I'm working in between advertisement, but also like animation for games, which was pretty new for me. I didn't have any experience in that at all before. So it's kind of new, it's still like learning. And that's my experience in the games industry. So I think I will be talking to you about animation itself, because even if it's games animation or animation for TV show or feature films, is always animation. So I think having a wider knowledge of what animation is and what could be as a career, I think it will be helpful. Even if your workshop are focusing more on the game side.
Definitely.
I think it's a really wide subject to talk about. So
Definitely, yeah. And actually, I want to ask some questions about that, because like for a lot of people, right, when they're thinking about kind of like what skills are necessary, I think this would be a really great kind of point to kind of touch on, because like what skills do you need to be able to work in advertising or in the feature films, and then how much of that applies to the game industry? So like in your mind, what is critical for people, especially the students here, to think about if this is something that they're interested in? What kind of skills would you say they should develop and work on?
yeah, I actually really thought about this because I was kind of preparing for this talk, because I was thinking about myself when I was in high school and what little did I know about animation, and how like the information that I have now could be really useful if you want to choose an animation as a career. Because as you said, it's really interesting how different the skill set that you think you might need to do animation is actually different from the skills that are needed for the job. Um, for example, I think nobody thinks that animation is actually it takes a lot of time, and is a lot of like precisions and a lot of practice and a lot of patience. Because if you think about it, and you might never think about it before, animation is like 1 second of animation required. It's 24 frames. That it's 24 frame either way. If you're doing 2D animation, you can just draw 12 drawings, but if you're animating in 3D, it's 24 frames. And if you think about, that's a lot of frame for an hour and a half movie or for a minute animation. It's really a lot. I was doing like a calculation before, and best case scenario for 1 minute you need to draw 720 drawings, and worst case, if you're doing a 3D animation, is 1440 or something like that. So it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it
And
sounds like it.
the skill set required, I think it really depends, because if you're 2D animator, it's easier if you have some skills in drawings, even if it's not essential, because most of the time if you're working, it makes your life easier. But if you're working for a TV show or for video games, they usually have puppets built with different pieces illustrated by the illustrator or the character designer. So you just move those things around, and you don't have to know how to draw to make the animation works. I think you really need to learn the principle of animation. But I think this is required for animation in general. It could be like 3D, 2D, pixel animation, whatever. It has to be like patience, flexibility, um, I think precision, and it can be really like a really technical job and not as much as creative as someone might think, because you also need to level up with all the other people that are working with you. So you cannot really stand out. You need to be consistent, and you need to look the same. So you need to be really flexible. And I think those are the main skill set that you need to have. Obviously, if you're working with 3D, you also need to have more, I think, a mathematical mindset, because it's all about like moving things and curves, and if you're writing script, it's even better. It's a bit more, I think, computer related to what 2D animation could be. That it's a bit more creative and a bit more related to drawings and the creative side of animation.
And that's really interesting, because I think, when you think about a video game, you play it and you don't really get the sense of understanding like the mechanics behind how things move and how you make that happen. So I guess, we've talked to some technical artists, we've talked to some of the just the designers of the game. Like, how are you working with these people whenever you're creating those animations, and what skills are you drawing upon as an animator to kind of help them do their job really well?
Yeah, I think this is where a wider conversation about teamwork is really important, because when you are an animator, you almost never work alone. You always, especially unless you're working in advertisement where you are an ace animator and you come in, you do your thing because they like your style, and then you just go out and get paid, and that's it. Most of the times, whether it's TV shows or games, you will work in a team. And you will work in a team of people that is usually like a wide team. So it's essential that you're a team player and that you want to work with other people and be really open to give feedback and receive feedback in a constructive way. And where I think both experience in schools comes handy is that they teach you about the whole process. They don't teach you, most of the time, they don't teach you only, unless it's like a really specific 6 months course, they teach you about the whole thing. So what comes before you, what comes next. And it's both fun and really important to understand where does your piece of puzzle fit in this wider picture, and how can you really make each other's life easier. So it's never a war against like the game design team or the compositor that comes after you. It's really like you need to make each other's life easier, and it's all about conversation, asking questions, and don't be afraid of like talking with other people, because it might make your life much easier if you confront them on something that is not clear. And so I think like being able to be a team player and to be open to critiques is also really, really, really important.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think those skills apply to across every single job that has been on this series, right? Is because there's just so much work that you do, and I think everybody's kind of seeing that it's really hard to be a video game like person in general and work alone, because a lot of this just requires so much work to make an amazing game of any size, right? Like, I mean, maybe small ones you can get away with, but even then, it's like you still tend to like freelance out some extra work and try to get some help here and there, because it's just really hard to do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
So
it's
totally
not a solo game.
No, it's not a single player game.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. So I guess one of the things that a lot of the students like to ask is a question around understanding kind of how do you develop.
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, no worries.
My mouse hit the thing. So like, what do you do to kind of build a portfolio of assets, and what tools do you learn, and what helps get set up for going into a career in animation?
Yeah. And I think like, because I was actually like thinking a lot about what could be really helpful to know to you guys. I think this is a question that really a lot of people ask me, like, how can I make my portfolio look good? How can I prepare for something better? How can I become like start or like thinking about animation as a career? I think school, like personally, like in my opinion, and what it's been my career path, I think school, it's really important. It's not like the name of the school or how much does it cost, but is the what they teach you. Like you can. I think it's easy to see like the level of a school, like how good they are at teaching you if you look at the graduation movies that they make, because usually animation schools are structured in a way that they want to make you practice a lot. So the last 6 months, the last 3 months, the last 1 year, and in my case was a whole 1 year, is to make you do a whole project. You divide in teams, and in my case it was 4 people, and you do your graduation movie, short movie, and you learn about like everything, and you practice a lot. And I think it's a really good experience. I think school is really important because it gives you animation is a field where you need to have strong fundamentals. You need to have a really strong ground to be able to grow faster when you start working. Because those fundamentals, you can find them on YouTube. You can find books about it. Everybody will tell you buy the animation survival kit. There is a book, really important book in animation. There is a lot of resources, and I think they are all really helpful, and they're all like you can learn a lot from them. But if you go and study somewhere, or if you only take a course, a 6 months course, 3 months course, or whatever, they really give you the fundamentals, and that's really important, because those is really the basic ground. It's the bottom of the ladder where you start climbing. So you need to be really steady, and there's a lot to learn and a lot to practice at the beginning. That it really feels demotivating if you're not feeling that you are building a solid ground beneath your feet. So I think schools play a really important part in the animation career, because it's a really good starting point. It gives you time to practice that you don't need to practice when you start working and you don't know what you're doing, because you've learned something here and there, but you don't have like you don't know the principles really well. You didn't have time to practice them a lot, because what school does is also allows you to make a lot of mistakes and learn with practice, which is not something that you can really say when you're working, because they want like good results and they don't want you to make too many mistakes. So it's something that you learn. Obviously, like in every environment, you will learn a different kind of animation. You will learn to apply those animation principles in a different way. So you will make mistakes always, but you have more time to practice if you're doing like if you're going to school. And it's almost the only time where you are allowed to do your own projects and to work on your own thing. And that's really gives you a lot of motivation, that motivation and inspiration that you have from like you have that thing in mind that you want to do, and you are able to do it because you have the time that the school offers you to make those your animations. It's really something that it will unless you're doing your own game, unless you're doing your own project, it's really difficult that you will find a time in your career where you're working on your own thing. So schools
Yeah.
also allows you to do that, and it's really good fun.
I
Also,
think
sorry.
you pointed out something very interesting though, because this is something that some people have echoed before, is that you said, school gives you that place where you can be structured about your learning and give yourself some time to work on things you care about. Because a couple of the folks in the other ones, like the coders and all that, they said, school's not critical for like being a coder, but it does give you so much of that framework and foundation that you go with. And I think you also said it here, is that school doesn't define whether or not you're going to be successful, because you could have a really bad animator come out of a really good school, and that's not a
Absolutely.
problem, right? And you and I were talking about this before, about like how you've seen some animators come from like really great schools, and you're just like, what are you doing? Like, this is terrible, right? And so like, how do you prepare and make sure that people leave school like really strong and competitive so they can get a job? Like, what would be your top tips from that? And sorry for cutting off your other part if you had something else you would feel free to
Yeah,
continue.
No, I can say what I was about to say because is a follow up of this conversation. I think, as you said, I don't think school is essential. I think also I don't think university itself is really essential. When I'm talking about like studying animation, I even talk about the 3 months course that you find online, but it needs to be the right course and it needs to be the right school. What I can see, especially like coming from like these different environments where I worked on, I noticed that it's also like it's the school obviously that they give you the fundamentals, but it's also like how hard obviously are you working on it, how passionate you are about it, and also it's not the cool name of the school that gives you the talent. That's something that you really work hard on and that you can. I think it's a mindset of really wanting to learn and to be able, and it's to be able to learn something and to apply yourself and practice a lot. Either if you're working on, like, if you don't have to go to school to work hard. You can do it on your own. You can do it looking at YouTube videos. I think university is not essential, but it plays an important part if you take it the right way. If you take it as it depends on how much I put in it. It's not depending on they give me the exercise and I've done the exercise and I'm fine with it. You really need to look at that exercise and say, like, do I like it's just I've done my exercise and is it good enough? I want to do it again or invest more time in it, or it's really how much do you put in it. And I can see a lot of people just going to really good schools that have great names and just don't apply themselves like to the subject. So it really depends how much you put in it and how passionate you are about it. And also I must say it really depends who you end up with in who are your classmates, because I was lucky enough that in my class there were like a couple of people that were really, they already have experience in animation, so they raised the bar so high that everybody else just look at them and see like, why I can't do that, what. And you really it's some tough healthy competition, but it really allows you to grow so much faster because you really want to be able to do that. You really want to achieve the same goals. So it's also like, and it's the wider conversation about the team play. Like when you're in an environment where everybody is so good, you don't take it as the motivation, as something that motivates you, but take it as something that will allow you to grow because you need to match that. You need to raise your bar.
Standards. Yeah, no, I really like that because I think that's not something that people remember often enough, is that like if you have people that are better than you should take that as a challenge. You should take that as something that, brings the game up at the end of the day, because, if you're expecting that you want to go work in a whatever top tier company, there's going to be people there that are just incredible, right? They're going to be so good at what they do, and there's a reason for them to be there, is because that they're talented individuals, and so you need to surround yourself with those kind of challenges to make sure that you're pushing yourself to grow, or also sink to the bottom, right? And you'll just kind of be okay with status quo. And I think a lot of the people in the game industry, I feel like, and this is something I personally don't think I knew actually, I feel like everyone in the video games industry, or at least just in these kind of creative arts industries, is like competing at such an aggressive level that I did not know about before. And I was like, wow, I just feel like everyone's really pushing themselves so much more than I think most people do. Like I think about like my job and I'm like, am I pushing myself to learn as much as some of my friends are here, like, in these conversations? And I'm like, well, maybe I'm not. Maybe I need to be better, right? So I think it's really cool and exciting.
Yeah, no, I think it really depends, as you said. I think it depends on the field because animation is such a small world that you really want to kind of earn your spot in it. And you can allow yourself, like, your thought to be, first thought to be, oh my God, look at the person, he's so good. I cannot really do that. But then your second thought needs to be, okay, so how can I do that? Because I could tell at my school that everybody else's classes just match the best person in the class, because you don't know what's above that if you don't have anybody as high. So it's really difficult to be like to compete with yourself if you don't have someone to match. It's much easier if you have someone that you want to match, that you want to show them that you can do it too,
Yeah.
to build that healthy competition
Yeah, yeah.
where you are really growing. And I think being a small word and being a word where everybody is applying to the same job, it kind of pushes you to also like work a bit harder, or to ask yourself the question, do I really want to do that? Because if you don't want to work that hard, maybe it's because you want to do something else, and that's nothing wrong with that. I think at some point you just ask yourself the question, do I want to keep doing this, or is this really just me pushing on something that I really maybe don't want to do? I want to do something else. And it could be something similar. It could be that instead of doing 2D animation, you want to do 3D or pixel art, or you want to do character design, and you are realizing that now it's not. I think it's not a fixed thing that you need to be. I want to go there, 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 and you push yourself to be there. If along the way you find that you want to do something else because you grow, and I think your dreams and your goals grow with you. So
Yeah, I think so. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that for each person, I think that journey is individual. And I think that is not something that you have to define success as, this level of competition or this level of skill, right? It's whatever makes you happy and brings you joy, then run with it, right? Like don't hurt yourself if you don't want to do that.
exactly, I can't agree more with that, because I saw myself like how many people can just say like, I really really want to go and work with Disney and work at Disney. I want to go and work at Pixar, because that's, or Ubisoft in case of games, because that's the top spot that you can reach. But along the way you find that you might don't want to do that. I mean, I started doing a little animation school because I wanted to work at Pixar. I don't want to work at Pixar now, and it's not because I don't like Pixar. It's just that I changed so much of my mindset that is just, it's success. It's not defined by reaching that point, but it's
Yeah.
just defined by you and what you want to do and what you want with yourself and your life, I guess.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's really cool. For I guess for students that are potentially in like learning a little bit about animation, what software or tools would you recommend they start with to kind of just get basics going? If they're doing it at home, what would you say they need to start doing first?
I actually brought down a list of softwares,
Oh,
and
nice.
those are all the softwares that I find that they use for animations and the games industry.
Perfect. Yeah, that'd be amazing. And I think you can upload that into chat. I'm not sure. If not, we could definitely share that with everyone at the end,
Yeah,
to make sure that they get a copy of that, because I think that would be amazing and give everybody a chance to kind of look at it at their own time,
yeah,
especially since I know some of the students are not able to attend today's session. And go from there. So we actually, in the meantime, while we figure out the document stuff, Joanne, we'll probably send that to you afterwards as an FYI.
yeah.
We have a question here from Zara, which is, where do you find inspiration for, and I'm going to go with just, where do you find inspiration, period, actually, and I'll just let you
Yeah.
go with that. Yeah.
I think inspirations, most of the time I find inspiration in other people's work, especially when I see a really, really cool animation. I really just want to do one myself. I either want to see, like, when you realize that to make an animation, it takes those 12 to 24 frames, you just want to go on YouTube and press, I don't know what's, I think it's the arrows, or I don't remember, and you can see the animation frame by frame. And that's like, when I found something that I really like, I just do that. I stop the video and do that, because it's incredible what you can see if you look at something frame by frame. But talking about inspiration, I think it comes from different places. It comes from like other people work. If something is especially good, most of the time I need to stop myself 1 second and tell myself, try to recognize what's cool and what you want to do and what you like to watch, because something that you might find really cool might not be something that you really want to do. Like like a moment in my life because I wanted to do animation, but then I didn't know if I wanted to make storyboards or do character design or pre-production, stuff like that. And I was looking at these amazing backgrounds, and I was like, I wanna just draw like this. I wanna do some paintings like this. But every time I do it, it's just really frustrating. And it's not because I don't achieve a result, because I might be able to do it, but it's really frustrating compared to when I do an animation. And even if it's stressful, even if it takes a lot of time, when I press play, it's just the best to see that emotion. So I just realized that what you think it's cool, it's not necessarily what you want to do too. You might think that's cool and that's it. So when I found inspiration on something that I see online, I always stop 1 second and see like, do I really? It's so cool. Do I want to do that, or do I want to look at that? So that's my first question that I ask myself when I see something really cool. And inspirations come from different artists, a lot from illustration for me, even if I really like animation, a lot from a lot of different fields, because I really like a really wide variety of things, and I think everything can really nurture your knowledge and your inspiration.
Yeah,
And
because you could draw something from
from
one end of the
anything.
thing and then just be like, I can make that, I can put that in here and just kind of run with it.
And most of the time, I think I find myself really inspired by what I'm connected with emotionally. So it could be like a travel or a memory of something, or it could be a really beautiful drawing or a really beautiful character design or a really wonderful Japanese animation or Disney animation or whatever little studio in France animation. um, I found a lot of inspiration working with other people. That's also my thing. Like, I really found inspiring when you find a good synergy with other people, because you really realize that it's much better when you're together with someone else, and you're when something is shared with others. I think it just gives you more motivation, more inspiration. And I found myself really inspired when I was in school and I was discussing my graduation movie and coming up with ideas. That's so inspiring. So I guess always find yourself also to time to get inspired by whatever else makes you happy. I guess, like traveling, reading a book, talking with your friends about ideas that you might have, even if they don't bring you like anywhere, even if you're just talking about new ideas and the book that you want to do with your friend that they're writing and you're drawing, just go with it and just see where it goes. Even if it doesn't bring you anywhere, it's something that feeds your
I think it's the
your
open
soul.
mind, right? It's like being willing and accepting of new things and new stimulations to kind of
Yeah.
create new opportunity, right? Because from what everything you said, I think that if you have a perspective, an open perspective on some of these issues, you can really you can discover so much more if you're open to new opportunities. And I think, and realistically, that applies to so many different fields, right? It doesn't matter what element of the game industry, and that's how you continually push your mind further, is that if you're open to new possibilities so that you can continue to be better, right? Because if you think my way is the best way, then you'll always
Mm-mm.
be doing your way. You'll never change. You'll never grow, right?
Yeah. And I found that I also found inspiration in something that looks because I think it's not really an answer to the question because it's really vague. But when I see something that is unusual, that's where I think, oh, I would have liked to do that. Why didn't I think about that? Because it gives me so much inspiration because it's different. And that's also with games, because they kind of like might look similar. When you see something that really stands out is where you're really captured and your inspiration just grows and you want to be part of it, or make it yours in some way.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
find that things that make you think, I want
Perfect.
to I want to be part of that. I want to see, like, I would like to do that.
Yeah, I think that hunger is necessary, honestly, because if you're not interested in being better and you're not going to build new skills, you're not going to build new abilities on those kind of things, whatever your side of the equation that you're working on. So yeah, okay. Well, I guess tell me something about that you don't like about your job, because I think everybody hears a lot of good things. So tell us something that you don't like about it, and some of the things to watch out for students as they move forward, because if they're gonna go into a job, you want to know what's bad too, right?
Absolutely. I actually have some notes about it. I have
Well, you
a
have notes on
whole
that one too. Oh, you're so prepared. Thank you.
because I had to write down like the saddest point of all. There has to be. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not always good fun. I think the worst is that it's really competitive and precarious field. As much as like it's nice to it's really nice. The people you met are usually really friendly in the animation industry. They are competitive and they are really like talented and hardworking people, but it's also like a really friendly environment. You can easily see that if we were not in a pandemic. You can see that there are a lot of networking events and stuff like that because they really like to meet each other, and you can find yourself meeting people that you worked with before because it's such a small world. But that also makes it a really competitive world, so a lot of people will apply for the same job and as you, and that it's easy that you will feel demotivated. It's easy that you will feel, where do I start? Like when you're starting, where do I start? I need to send all the applications and nobody's answering me. It feels, you need to be a bit prepared about that because emotionally and psychologically it's kind of tough. You're always in the position where you're job hunting, um, because it's a precarious field, because most of the time is project related, and I'm sure it's like that with games too, because I know people that work Ubisoft and stuff like that, and you're working with the, like, on the project, you're working on Assassin's Creed, you're working on Uncharted or whatever game, even the top ones, you're working for 6 months or 1 year and a half. If you're an animator, you will start and you might work for 1 year, but after that year, you need to look for another job. So you're kind of always in the position where you're job hunting. So you kind of need to be prepared that you might find yourself with no job for a few months, and you don't have to fall into despair, but just toughen up and try to think that it's normal, it's part of the process. Everybody, for it's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's a bit, because when you're working on a project like this, you and your 15, 16, 20 colleagues in animation, they also have no job, so they will apply to the same job that you're applying to. So that's
Yeah. A little competitive then.
it's a lot of competitive, especially when you start to meet people. You see that everybody's really talented, but you can see like what people are good at. Even if they are better than you in something, you might be better at something else. So it really depends on the job that you're applying to. But you need to job hunt often, because you have these gigs that are 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and that's, I think, one of the most stressful things about animation.
Yeah.
And but on a good note, I think that if you're working in a studio, if they like you, unless it's a really small indie studio where they have no funds, and they don't know if they will survive next year, if you find yourself in a like normal studio, they will always have projects, smaller project, big projects. So if they like you, it's easy that they will keep you or they will call you back, because that's what happens all the time. Like if they like you, there's no reason why they need to get someone new, because they already trust you. So that's the case where when you're working with someone, try to be really likable as a person too, because if you are really good at animating but you go crazy and you smash your keyboard because you're stressed, they might not call you back. So I think that's also like connecting to the conversation about teamwork.
Mhm.
Um, when you find yourself in a good team, those are the people that will go to different studios, and if they like you, how you work, what your work ethic, and you as a person, it will be likely that they will say to their supervisor or they lead, oh, I work with this person, just call her because she's really good. And it's but that's a skill in itself, like being able to connect with other people and to do networking. It's also something that you need to kind of learn how to do, especially networking. And that's one other, I think, difficult note. It's much easier to become an animator and to keep being an animator if you do networking. So you go to these events, you interact with the community and stuff like that. It makes your life so much easier. But not everybody is ready to go and talk with a stranger and introduce themselves. First, like I'm not that kind of person. I found really difficult to networking. And it's something that it's really demotivating for me, because it doesn't rely only on your skills, but also on your ability to put yourself up there.
Yeah. Well, I think this is an interesting one, because I think there are a lot of things that can kind of be challenges in the space that you don't necessarily can control. And so this is going to be a topic that's a little bit more, I guess, oriented towards the theme of March, because March is, the focus on International Women's Day and making sure that there are, I'd say, quality representation of females in the workplace, right? And I think, admittedly, you are our first female speaker on this series, so this is my fault. So I'm sorry, guys and gals. But,
no, it's not really your fault. I think the animation industry is full of men.
This is the challenge, right? Is that in your perspective, like, what are some of the challenges for you as a female looking at the industry, as like, how do you see it? Do you see it as like something that is something that's improving? Like, what are your concerns? Do you have any tips for any of the females in the audience that are interested in kind of getting into the space? Any considerations around that?
It's really interesting as a question, because I don't really make it as a gender job being an animator, but I can easily see, especially in the game industry, there's so little space for women. I think they are generally, it's really weird, because in the animation industry there are a lot of women that plays games. It's not something unusual where you say like it's only a boys thing. There's a lot of people, and me myself are playing games, so it's not something that it's completely I think gender related.
Yeah.
But still, I think you can find your space as a woman in animation, because there are a lot of people that came before you that build some environment where you can really find yourself. There is a lot of networking events that are mainly female, and how to be a female in the animation industry. Not how to be a female, but how to be how does it mean to be a woman in the animation industry? And you can connect with other female, and there's a lot of also Instagram accounts that really give voice to the female anime, and they show you that there's plenty, even if you don't see them in a studio as much as you see men. You see that they exist and they do amazing things. But it's true, and it's something that you see. There's little women. There's no women. There's not much women, not as much as men in the industry. But I can also see space where you can see that's changing, and a lot of. I think it's because what I could see from my experience is that I think it's, and I don't want to make it a male female thing, but based on what I've seen, I can see that male could be more straightforward and allow themselves to be more out there, allow themselves to be more talk with that person without worrying, or to be like, yeah, I'm good enough. And female tend to doubt themselves a lot more. So I think it's a structural problem of the society in general, but female tend to feel more insecure, or to because maybe men put a facade of confidence, and that makes them able to be more.
Yeah. I think it is definitely a systemic issue, and when we're looking at like different ways to get people involved in the workplace, it's obviously a question of like how we view how society is playing its part to make people feel insecure, right? And we want people to feel as secure as possible, and it's a slow journey.
Yeah.
But it's something that we want to work on every single day. And Joanne,
Absolutely.
sorry, I see Joanne's hand going up really quick there.
Yeah, that was just really interesting listening to all this. But yeah, funnily enough, with this week we had a talk with the civil service, which is obviously a totally different career to kind of in women basically in government, kind of working for civil service government position, and kind of. I suppose the difference is because within, they were saying that because it's obviously a really, they have real structures in place because it's a massive employer. They've got loads of kind of social events and supportive meetings and groups that you can join. But I suppose in your sort of field, you're very much more self-employed, aren't you? And or kind of you're not in those big organisations that can have those sort of support structures in place. So is that some of the, you're very much on your own in a way, aren't you?
Yeah. Because it's very interesting, because that makes me think about something. When I was working at Cartoon Network, the structures that you're talking about, there were more in place. You have like a lot of support in the company, because it's such a big company, even if it's really structured. So you have the TV shows and you have advertisement in 2 different buildings. You can really see that they are working, like, and they give you structure. They organize events. They build this kind of structures. While when you're working as an animator and you move from one project to the other, you're kind of on your own. So if you want to find the structure, you find it outside. You find it in networking events. You find it in communities, little communities online, on Instagram, where you find these spaces. But it's not part of the companies, because the company really, the studios most of the time, they really work on taking the project, gathering the people, and they don't maybe think about everything else, or your personal growth as a person, or a woman in the industry, or a disabled or person of color, or you just like gather all together to achieve a goal. And if you're in a bigger company, it's easier that the structure exists to make you aware of things like that, or to make you feel less of that pressure, or more supported in a way.
Well, I think, I mean, that just raises an important point, I think, generally, doesn't it? When students are trying to sort of decide what career is for them, it's not just about how much you're going to earn, or that kind of thing. It's kind of what sort of working environment do you want? Do you want to be this person that's kind of in charge of your own development, or would you rather be with a big company? They've got to sort of think about those aspects of your career, really, haven't you?
Yeah, it's interesting, because I think also what I was saying before about being a precarious field, I think doesn't apply if you're if you're going up to the career ladder. I think if you reach that point where you're the art director, where you're the supervisor, it's easy that you stay there. I mean, the companies keep those people, and they put those people in charge of every project. So the upper you go, the more the more stable your job is. But it might be something that you don't like along the way. That you find that taking responsibility for everything and doing less of the job and more of the managing, it's not something that you might like. So it really depends on what you understand about yourself during the journey, and what you find out, what you find, and what you want to, where do we want to go. But it's very true that it's not as unstable if you want to go up high and be one of the top positions in the industry. You pretty much have a stable job, a permanent job. I mean, those people at Disney that do art direction and Bright, they stay there. It's difficult that they that they are let go. They just stay there, and they do different projects. They work on different projects.
Yeah.
It's also really difficult to get there.
Yeah, very competitive space, naturally. Very cool.
And also, I think the biggest the studio is, the biggest the reality is, the less you're involved with the whole energy, and it's really just a specific thing that you're doing with your team, and it becomes like your team. It's your little family. But when you're in a smaller studio, the whole studio is your little family. So it's a completely different energy.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. You know, small shops, indie shops, right? Everyone's got to pitch in and do a bunch of different things, build a lot of different skills. And I think that's the same for a lot of corporate roles, right? Is that if you're thinking about a startup or if you're thinking about a big corporation, there's going to be a lot more structure in one place and there's going to be a lot more flexibility and freedom in the other, to be able to do whatever it is that you'd like to do. So cognizant of time, we have about 5 minutes left-ish. So just want to open it up again to the audience to say, are there any students that have any specific questions that they want to get answered about the animation field, or if this is just generally questions that you've seen or maybe that you've just observed, feel free to put that in chat. If not, we can just allow it to kind of be a little bit more flexible and give everyone a chance to kind of maximize the remaining few minutes of their day before they hop onto the next activity, because I know everyone's staying very busy. So give it a minute or so. In the meantime, one of the questions that I'd like to kind of leave to you is if you had to do a quick...
Sorry.
No worries. It's totally fine. If you had to pick like a final 2 tips that you would say to people when you're thinking about this whole space, or if you just, you know, choosing a career just generally, what have you, right? Like your 2 tips for yourself. If you were, you know, back in high school, what would you tell yourself and what would you tell the students here today?
That's it's difficult to find only 2.
Yeah, I know, right?
But I would say, don't worry too much if you don't have a clear goal. You might think like, oh, if I don't know if I want to be an animator that bad, where is my space in this world? It's not about how much do you know that you want to do it. It's just, do you want to do it at all? What do you want to do? Is there things, a lot of different things that you like? It might not be that it's just animation. You might like different things, and you're like, what do I have to do if I like all those things? Or you might not know what you like precisely because you don't have a clear idea. I think those things are all valid. It's easy to think, oh, that person that knows what they want to do, it's much easier for them, and it's me that I'm unlucky, I don't know what to do. It's just try to think about yourself and your skills, and how those skills can really apply to what you want to do, and what are your strengths. And don't compare yourself as much to others, because it's really, one thing is healthy competition, and another thing is put yourself down because you're constantly thinking about other people and how much they are achieving compared to you, because your path is your path, and both, like all the different paths are valid in the same way. You just need to find yours, and don't think that success is something that somebody else decide that it is. You decide it for yourself. So it's not decided by someone else because they are successful. That means that means success for you too. So that's the most important thing.
So that, I mean, that's an amazing tip, right? I mean, I think that's an important one to remember when you're thinking about like your journey. It's going to be personal, right? It's not something that's
really
defined, set in
like
stone.
I think the most difficult thing, if you're an artist, if you're a creative, and you see so many beautiful things up there, it's not comparing yourself to others. It's really, really difficult. So if you're doing it, just do it. Like, recognize that you're comparing yourself to someone else, and recognize that it's not useful for your growth. But you can grow, and you can do your thing, and you can have a path and decide what success means to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can recognize that other people are successful, but that doesn't need to define you.
Cool. So Alicia's asking a really fast question. Do you prefer working in the film or gaming industry? Do you have a preference?
I think from my experience, what I like most is TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That's
really
really cool.
stressful. I think also games is really stressful, but I think TV show is really fast paced, so it's not for everybody, but it really gives you some satisfaction.
Really cool. Good. I personally would think that I don't know, like if I was to deal with the story, I feel like I'd probably be more excited. And I don't know, I like TV shows as well, so maybe that's just mine. Obviously, there's stories in games, but who knows?
No, also I think also games. I love games, and I love that it's just a different ways of storytelling because there's definitely a story there. On the animation side, I think animation for games is always a lot more technical and a lot more defined. It's a lot more 3D, so it's not like it's not my word anyway because I'm more of a 2D animator.
Yeah.
So it's not there's not much space for 2D animators in the games industry. So it's
Gotcha.
already a wall for me.
That's good to know. And I think, I think just in the interest of time, I think we'll probably have to stop it there because
Yeah.
there's one quick final comment that I got to share with everyone before they have a hard stop at 3. So, Anna, thank you so much for sharing your time and experience with us because it's excellent to hear from someone. And I wish I personally had learned about animation a little bit earlier on. I still would not be doing it because I'm a god-awful artist and god-awful animator. But, I think it's an amazing career that you've chosen and would love to have your perspective on it. So thank you so much for doing that.
No worries.
Thank you. So the students, everyone else, as a reminder, I believe the deadline is next week for your games design document. This is the last of the series of speakers, so we will be wrapping it up quite soon after that. I have started receiving the game design documents already. If you are struggling with something, please send me a note. We'll be happy to respond to any of those things and just get that over to us. But otherwise, we look forward to, actually, I forgot to announce that there is also now an additional prize that has been added to the games design competition. So there will be some Amazon vouchers that will be provided to the winners of the competition. And so typically that would be around almost 50 quid for an Amazon voucher for at least one of the prizes. So yes, Georgia actually amazingly responded in the middle of this to you, so no worries. Feel free to check out my last note to you. I literally just sent it. So thank you so much for all of this, and we will see you guys soon. Send me your questions and notes, and we'll go from there. Thank you, everyone.
Great.
Have a good one.
Thanks ever so much, Anna.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Angie.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.